Hey, so I want to talk about intelligence, real intelligence. What is that? There's been a lot of debate for a long time. Is it IQ? Is it emotional intelligence? What is it? Well, first I'll say, there's a lot of different types of intelligence, like spatial intelligence, language learning, aptitude, mathematical aptitude, memory, short-term memory, awareness, all kinds of intelligence. But um, there's two fundamental types of intelligence that all of those stem from, which are the two real types of intelligence, which are general intelligence and intuitive intelligence. All right, so I'm gonna expand on what those are, and why this is the end of the debate on what is real intelligence. Um, what do we know about that? What is that like? So first, I'll start with general intelligence. General intelligence can be thought of as raw computational capacity. Um, so all other intelligences that depend on one's raw computational capacity and data um, uh, withstanding capacity is going to stem from that. So the amount of data one can comprehend and manipulate and understand um, in systems form at once, or at any given situation is going to be um, your general intelligence. So you know um, having variables, being aware of variables, and um, using those variables in certain logical processes um, in one's awareness, uh, in the attempt to understand a system. So manipulating these variables, such as you know adding and subtracting these variables, um, true, you know if this variable is true, then this is false. Understanding implications of variables and how they interact. If this, then that. If this, then this. Um, Being able to understand these implications, operate with them um, in one's mind. And so this will determine, you know, the ability to do math, follow stories coherently, um, and yeah. So it's really best related to coding and computers, the way we understand how computers, they have raw compute, the amount of data and the complexity of algorithms they can solve and operate with at a given time. Um, and then like these codes, like if then statements, simple logic. Um, all of that will be contained in general intelligence. But general intelligence is actually the kind of lamer form of intelligence. It is the subordinate type of intelligence here, because it has a relatively small skill cap, if you will. So, if you can imagine, if general intelligence ranges on a scale from 0 to 100, intuitive intelligence ranges on a scale from 0 to 1,000. So the limiting factor for the determining the degree of refinement of one's behaviors, how refined um, are your behaviors, how conscious are you, this is determined by intuitive intelligence mainly. This is usually, in vast majority of cases, the limiting factor is intuitive intelligence, not general intelligence. Um, Humans have a relatively high uh, amount of general intelligence relative to all the other animals, but between human to human, on average, there's not a huge discrepancy of general intelligence, actually. However, you need both of them, um, to operate. If you were maxed out on one and zeroed out on the other, you wouldn't be able to function. They are both required. And so, what is intuitive intelligence? Is it emotional intelligence? Um, no, but emotional intelligence is contained within it. Um, so, kind of yes. What is it exactly? Other people call it spiritual intelligence. Other people might refer to it as awareness. But I define intuitive intelligence, well, I like the term intuitive intelligence because it relates to how we operate the intuition, which is what it is. Um, we actually use logic to understand our intuition and operate our intuition. That is intuitive intelligence. Um, but literally, what is it? It is the ability for one to perceive sensations clearly. That is intuitive intelligence, is the ability to perceive sensations clearly. And so, how is that the superior form of intelligence? Well, because intuition actually supersedes logic at certain points. Within the framework of this universe, intuition supersedes logic because we don't always, in fact, we usually never, perhaps always never, know all the variables in any given situation. So, since we don't know all the variables in any given situation, um, we can't always use perfect logic because we don't have all the variables. So we use our intuition. And so how do we logically understand and use our intuition? How does intuitive intelligence function? Um, so um, all feelings um, originate in the body mind as sensations of either expansion, which is all positive feelings, or a feeling of contraction in the body mind. And that is um, how all negative emotions are felt, right? And so, um, if you understand the emotional guidance system, which is that all negative emotions are a result of a false belief, a false and negative belief about oneself or reality, and all expansive feelings, positive feelings, are the result of a true belief about oneself or reality. And to say or reality is redundant there because um, yourself and reality are the same thing. What you believe about reality, you believe about yourself, vice versa. But um, so if you have a question, something you want to know about, an item you'd like to understand, you hold that item in your awareness or the question, you ask it, and you simply perceive the feelings of expansion or contraction that may arise in your body mind. And if it's a contraction, you know that you have some sort of false belief about yourself or reality, and you reverse engineer that feeling to understand what the belief is at play. Because usually a thought will arise with it that contains evidence as to what the belief is. Or it's a positive feeling, and you know that you're believing something or understanding something rather true that is about you or reality. And so um, all metaphysical questions can be solved that way, and we can use this system to know what to do, um, because our false beliefs will be determining our biases in any given situation. um, so yeah, the intuitive intelligence um, is one's ability to perceive sensations clearly. And so, in practice, what this looks like is how many sensations can you perceive at once, um, and how intensely, with what intensity can you perceive a sensation? If you can perceive a sensation, any sensation with a great level of intensity, then you perceive a lot of nuance in that sensation. You perceive micro sensations, if you will, within that sensation. And so the subtler of sensations you are able to perceive, you are able to discern what actions to take on subtler and subtler levels, on more refined levels, higher consciousness um, levels. This is how higher consciousness is born, is by refining one's actions to subtler and subtler micro adjustments to our actions based on our perception first becoming subtler and subtler. And our perception, becomes subtler as we perceive more subtle, nuanced sensations in the body mind. And so this is the greatest intelligence is intuitive intelligence, because at a certain point you you reach level 100 on the general intelligence. So I'm not saying that like I have the greatest math skill or the greatest learning skill in the world or whatever. But what I'm saying is that there is no logical equation that could be set before me that I could not comprehend. Um, if it's truly a logical equation, based in science of logic, um, not breaking any logical rules. So once you experience that point, and you're at a sufficient amount of general intelligence, and your skill cap is now diverted to only intuitive intelligence and developing that. And so this is kind of beyond the scope of what I was intending, but how do you develop intuitive intelligence? Well, that is by refining your awareness, the intensity of which you can perceive all of reality, right? If you can perceive reality more intensely, then you can see subtler and subtler emotions. So how do you perceive reality more intensely? Well, you increase total energy, because what you are is energy. You are light that is dense, and yeah, your total, however much light you are, that makes up your physical body pretty much, is going to determine um, how much you can perceive, right? Now, what you can perceive is determined by your energy level. Higher energetic state can perceive greater and greater amounts of reality, so therefore subtler sensations and more sensations at once. And so then this gives you greater capacity for intuitive intelligence. But if you can't handle the increased energy, if you increase your energy a lot, which I won't get into how to increase energy here, but if you do increase energy a lot, and you can't refine your intentions, you can't focus well enough to harness this energy, then the energy will just destroy you. It'll be too great. You won't be able to harness it, to focus it, to manifest what you want, and all the energy will just manifest unconsciously. It'll be whatever is in your unconscious mind, because you don't have control over it, so it's not made conscious yet. So you don't just go around increasing energy willy-nilly. You got to be balanced in the approach. But yeah, I can get into that in more detail later on. But the main point of this video was to differentiate between general intelligence and intuitive intelligence, and speak on the fact that intuitive intelligence is really the real, more important intelligence, the determining factor of how refined one's behaviors are, and what that is the ability to distinguish and discern subtle sensations. That is what gives way. It makes you sensitive to all sensations, to all of reality, and as you're sensitive to positive and negative, the more sensitive you are, the less you are willing to tolerate negative, and the more you yearn for positive, right? And so this the system, the intuitive system, the emotional guidance system is perfect, right? So if our um, energy increases and our ability to understand the logic of the emotional guidance system is balanced and rises along with it, then um, our capacity expands. We become more refined. We become more self-actualized, and we become capable of miracles and all sorts of great stuff. So hopefully got all the good points across there. Um, Leave comments, ideas, thoughts, questions down below. Thanks for listening, watching, like, subscribe. Peace.